During our anniversary dinner, my husband introduced his girlfriend. I introduced my lawyer. You ever have a moment that splits your life into before and after? For me, that moment came during what should have been a celebration. Our wedding, anniversary dinner. My name is Linda Turner, and for over 40 years I put my family before myself. Tonight, though, everything changed. If this sounds like something out of a movie, trust me, I wish it were fiction. Where are you watching from? Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like mine. Now let me take you through the chapters of how I found my voice, exposed the lies, and reclaimed my dignity. Mom, can you transfer some money to my account? Just until payday. Emily's voice crackled through the phone, not even bothering with a hello. Is everything okay? I asked, balancing the phone between my ear and shoulder while folding Richard's shirts. It's fine. Just some unexpected bills. So can you, today? I sighed quietly. I'll need to check with your father, but... Mom? Seriously? I'm not asking for his money. Can't you just help me without making it complicated? This was our routine. The asking, the giving, the taking. I'll see what I can do, I said, knowing already I'd find a way. Great. Text me when it's done. She hung up without saying goodbye. I placed Richard's freshly ironed shirt on the pile and stared at my reflection in the bedroom mirror. Who was that woman, 62 years old with fading brown hair and tired eyes that had watched a family grow while she herself seemed to shrink? Richard will be late again, I told my reflection, practicing the words before I'd have to tell Gloria later. The doorbell rang promptly at 2. Gloria, my one true friend, stood there with a bottle of wine and critical eyes that saw too much. You look exhausted, she announced, stepping inside. It's just been busy. Emily called needing money again. Gloria said, the wine on the counter with more force than necessary. And you're giving it to her. Linda, when was the last time anyone in this family gave something to you? That's not how it works, I defended weakly. That's exactly my point. She uncorked the wine with practiced efficiency. Does Richard know how often you bail out the kids with your nursing pension? I busied myself with glasses. He's very busy with the Johnson case. He's always busy with some case, Gloria muttered. And what about your sister? Has Sharon paid back what she borrowed for her vacation? It wasn't a loan. It was a gift. Gloria handed me a glass. Everything with you is a gift. Nothing is ever expected in return. That's what families do. No, Linda. That's what you do. And they've all forgotten how to see you. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark, my son. Need help with rent this month. Can we talk? Thanks, Mom. Gloria caught my expression. Mark or Emily? Mark this time. She shook her head. When I lost Tom last year, you were at my house every day for a month. When was the last time any of them checked on you? I had no answer. The truth was, I couldn't remember. The phone rang again. It was Sharon, my younger sister. Linda, thank God you answered. I need a huge favor. Can you watch Buddy this weekend? Jeff and I have a couple's retreat, and the kennel is full. Buddy was her hyperactive terrier who had destroyed my garden last time. Actually, Sharon, Richard and I have plans. Please? Nobody else can do it. You're so good with him. I caught Gloria's warning look. I'll have to check with Richard. Great. I'll drop him off Friday. You're a lifesaver, sis. She hung up before I could respond. Let me guess, Gloria said, refilling my glass. You just got volunteered for something. Sharon needs me to watch Buddy. And what did she say when you told her about your anniversary dinner? I stared at my wine. I didn't mention it. Gloria set her glass down. Linda Turner, one day you're going to disappear entirely. And do you know what will happen? They'll only notice when there's no one answering their calls for money or favors. That's a bit dramatic, is it? When was the last time Richard actually saw you? Really saw you? I thought about our morning routine. Him behind a newspaper, me preparing his breakfast. Decades of mornings like that. He's just busy. We're all busy, Gloria said, squeezing my hand. But some of us still see each other. Later, after Gloria left, I prepared dinner alone. Richard called to say he'd be late again. The Johnson case is at a critical point, he explained, not really explaining anything. Of course, I said. I'll keep a plate warm. I hung up and continued chopping vegetables, wondering when I'd become so small in my own life. So the reservation is at 7. I told Richard over breakfast, 3 days before our anniversary. Emily and Mark confirmed they're coming, and Sharon too. Richard barely looked up from his phone. Oh, right. The dinner. Our 42nd anniversary dinner, I clarified, trying to keep the hurt from my voice. Right, he muttered, still scrolling. Listen, I might be a little late. We have a deposition that afternoon. But you promised. It's not like I'm missing it, Linda. I said I might be late. I swallowed my disappointment. I was hoping we could arrive together. He finally looked up. It's dinner with the family, not a presidential inauguration. I'll be there. I spent the next 2 days cleaning the house, though no one would see it. Old habits die hard. I ironed tablecloths, polished silverware, and crafted a menu around Richard's favorite dishes. You're going all out, Gloria observed when she came by to help. 42 years deserves a celebration, I replied, arranging flowers. Has Richard even noticed? I focused on the centerpiece. He's been distracted. This Johnson case. Linda, Gloria interrupted. When's the last time he brought you flowers? Or took you somewhere special? Or even asked about your day? Not everyone shows love the same way, I defended. That's true, Gloria conceded. But everyone should show it somehow. The day of our anniversary, I woke early. Richard was already gone. An early meeting, his note said. I spent hours preparing, my mind full of hope. Maybe tonight would be different. The doorbell rang at 6:30. Happy anniversary, Mom, Emily said, air-kissing my cheek. She thrust a hastily wrapped gift into my hands. The store bag was still attached. Mark arrived next, empty-handed but with an excuse. Sorry, Mom. I've been swamped at work. I'll get you something next week. No need, I assured him, though we both knew he wouldn't. Sharon brought a bottle of wine, the cheap kind from the grocery store. Where's Richard? She asked immediately. He's on his way, I said, though his last text was vague at best. Gloria arrived punctually at 7, bearing a thoughtful gift and a warm hug. You look beautiful, she whispered. Richard finally arrived at 7:45, apologizing profusely. The Johnson case. We know, Emily interrupted. The mysterious Johnson case that's apparently more important than your anniversary. Richard shot her a warning look. Dinner began awkwardly. Emily checked her phone constantly. Mark stepped, out twice for important calls. Sharon dominated the conversation with stories about her job, never once asking about anyone else. "So," Gloria said during a lull, 42 years is quite an achievement. Linda has been preparing for days. Richard nodded, distracted. His phone buzzed again. "Sorry, I need to take this." He stepped away from the table. Through the window, I could see him pacing on the patio, smiling at whatever the caller was saying. "Dad seems stressed," Mark offered. "He's always stressed," Emily replied. "That's his default state." Sharon laughed. "Remember when he missed your graduation, Mark? Another important case." I cleared the plate silently, gathering strength for dessert. Richard returned as I served the cake, his favorite, which had taken hours to perfect. "Everything looks wonderful," he said, but his eyes never met mine. I sat down, suddenly exhausted. 42 years of moments like this. Me giving, them taking. Me visible only in what I provided. "Are you okay, Mom?" Emily asked, finally noticing my silence. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired from cooking." "You should have ordered in," Sharon suggested, as if it were that simple. The doorbell rang unexpectedly. "Are we expecting someone else?" Mark asked. I shook my head, rising to answer it. I opened the door to find a woman I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, sleek blonde hair, designer clothes. "Can I help you?" I asked. She smiled tightly. "I'm here for Richard." Before I could respond, Richard appeared behind me. "Jessica," he said, his voice strained. "You're early." My stomach knotted as I looked between them. Richard's hand touched her elbow with familiar ease. "Linda," he said carefully. "This is Jessica Winters. She's a colleague." Jessica's perfectly manicured hand extended toward me. "It's finally nice to meet you, Mrs. Turner." "Finally?" I repeated, the word heavy with implication. Richard guided us both back to the dining room, his face flushed. "Everyone, this is Jessica Winters. She's been working with me on the Johnson case." Gloria's eyes narrowed. Emily and Mark exchanged glances. Sharon looked openly curious. "I don't understand," I said quietly. "Why is she at our anniversary dinner?" Richard cleared his throat. "I have an announcement." The room fell silent. I felt Gloria's hand find mine under the table. "Linda, everyone," Richard continued, his voice formal, as if in court. "Jessica and I, we've been seeing each other." The world tilted beneath me. Emily gasped. Mark stared at his plate. Sharon's mouth fell open. "Seeing each other?" repeated, my voice distant to my own ears. "We're together," Richard clarified unnecessarily. "I've been meaning to tell you. I've been trying to find the right moment." "And our anniversary dinner seemed appropriate?" Gloria's voice cut through, the shock, sharp with anger. Richard had the decency to look uncomfortable. "I didn't plan it this way. Jessica was supposed to meet me afterward." "So this was going to be my goodbye dinner?" I asked. "A last meal before execution?" "Mom," Emily started, but I raised my hand. "Don't," I said. "Please don't speak. Right now." Jessica shifted awkwardly. "Perhaps I should go." "Perhaps you should." Gloria agreed coldly. "No," Richard countered. "Jessica stays. We need to address this like adults." I laughed then, a sound so foreign it startled everyone. "Like adults? You bring your mistress to our anniversary dinner and want to discuss it like adults?" "She's not a mistress," Richard insisted. "This isn't some tawdry affair." "What would you call it?" Mark finally spoke, his voice tight. Richard straightened. I'd call it a fresh start. I'm 65 years old. I deserve happiness. And what about Mom? Emily demanded. Doesn't she deserve happiness? Of course she does, Richard said. Linda, you must have known something was wrong. We haven't been happy for years. We haven't? I asked, genuinely surprised. I'd built my life around his needs for so long. I'd forgotten to question if it worked. Be honest, he pressed. When was the last time we connected? Really connected? I couldn't answer. Not because he was right, but because I suddenly realized how invisible I'd allowed myself to become. I think, I said carefully, standing up, that I need some air. Linda, Richard started. Not now, I managed. Not one more word, right now. I walked out onto the patio, the evening air cool against my burning face. Gloria followed me out. I'm so sorry, she whispered. You know what the worst part is? I asked. I spent 3 days preparing his favorite meal. I've spent 42 years preparing his favorite everything, and he doesn't even see me. What do you want to do? I stared up at the stars, surprisingly, clear-eyed. I don't know yet, but for the first time in decades, I think I'm going to do what I want, not what everyone else needs from me. Gloria squeezed my hand. It's about damn time. When we returned inside, Jessica had left. Richard sat alone at the table, Emily and Mark flanking him like guards. Where's Sharon? I asked. She left, Emily said. Said it was too awkward. Of course she had. Sharon never could handle discomfort. Richard, I said calmly, I think you should leave. He looked startled. This is my house too. Yes, it is, but tonight, I need you gone. Mark stood up. Dad, I think you should go. You're taking her side? Richard asked incredulously. There are no sides, I said. There's just what's happening right now. And right now, you need to leave. Richard gathered his things slowly, as if waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. At the door, he paused. Linda, we need to talk about this rationally. Tomorrow, I said. Not tonight. After he left, Emily approached me cautiously. Mom, are you okay? No, I answered honestly. I'm not, but I will be. For the first time in 42 years, I was certain of it. The morning after Richard's announcement, I awoke in my bed alone. The house was silent in a way it had never been before. Not peaceful. Empty. I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Gray hair, lines around my eyes, a mouth that had smiled through disappointment for decades. But there was something else, there too. Something undiscovered. Enough! I whispered to my reflection. The phone rang. It was Emily. Mom, are you okay? Mark and I are worried. I'm fine, I said automatically. You're not fine, she countered. Dad just blew up your life. Did he? I wondered aloud. Or did he just expose what was already broken? What does that mean? I don't know yet, I admitted, but I'm going to find out. After hanging up, I pulled out the old file box from the closet. Inside were decades of financial records I'd meticulously kept. Richard never bothered with them. Bank statements showed regular transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Property deeds revealed investments he'd never mentioned. And there, buried beneath tax returns, was my parents' will. The inheritance I'd received 10 years ago that had mysteriously diminished. I called Gloria. I need a good lawyer, I said when she answered. Are you divorcing him? She asked without preamble. I don't know yet, but I need to protect myself. I know someone, Gloria said. Daniel Brooks. He's excellent and discreet. Can you set it up? Today, if possible. Of course. Linda. Her voice softened. I'm proud of you. I continued my archaeology dig through our financial history. By noon, I had a clearer picture of our situation and Richard's deceptions than I'd ever had before. The doorbell rang at 1. Richard stood there, looking rumpled and uncertain. Can we talk? He asked. I stepped aside to let him in. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals. Jessica and I, he began. I don't want to hear about Jessica, I interrupted. Tell me about the Cayman account instead. His face blanched. What? Or the riverside property you purchased last year, or the withdrawals from my inheritance. How did you... No. I finished for him. Because contrary to what you've assumed for 42 years, Richard, I'm not stupid. I'm just trusting. Was trusting. I corrected. He recovered quickly. Those are business matters. You've never shown interest in... In what? In how you've spent our money? Hidden our assets? Used my inheritance? He leaned forward. Linda, you're upset about Jessica. I understand that. But don't conflate our personal situation with financial decisions I've made for our benefit. Our benefit? I repeated. Tell me, in what way does hiding money benefit me? You're not thinking clearly, he said dismissively. We should discuss this when you're calmer. I laughed. I've never been clearer in my life, and I've never been calmer. My phone buzzed with a text from Gloria. Daniel can see you at 3. I have an appointment, I told Richard, standing up. You can see yourself out. What appointment? He demanded. A personal one, I replied. I'm allowed those, aren't I? After he left, I changed clothes, choosing my nicest outfit. One I'd bought years ago for special occasions, but rarely wore, because Richard preferred me in softer colors. Daniel Brooks's office was downtown, sleek but welcoming. He was in his 50s with kind eyes and a careful manner. Mrs. Turner, he greeted me. Gloria has told me a little about your situation. Please, call me Linda, I said. And I'd like to tell you my situation myself, if that's all right. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The marriage, the finances, Richard's deception. What do you want? Daniel asked when I finished. It was such a simple question, yet no one had asked me that in years. I want what's fair, I said finally. I've given 42 years to this marriage. I've supported his career, raised our children, managed our home. I want recognition for that, and I want what's legally mine. Daniel nodded. Based on what you've shown me, you have a very strong case, but I must ask, are you sure about this? Divorce is difficult, even when justified. I'm not sure about anything yet, I admitted, but I am sure I need protection. Can you help me with that? Yes, he said simply. I can. As I left his office, my phone rang again. It was Mark this time. Mom? Dad's freaking out. He says you're threatening him? I'm not threatening anyone, I clarified. I'm protecting myself. From what, Dad? From disappearing completely, Mark. From giving everything and having nothing left. He was quiet for a moment. I don't understand what's happening. Neither do I said honestly. But for once, I'm going to find out on my terms. I've frozen the joint accounts, Daniel informed me over the phone the next morning, and filed a preliminary injunction to prevent any property sales. Will that stop him? I asked. It will make any financial moves transparent. The court now has oversight. I took a deep breath. What's next? That depends on you, Linda. What do you want the immediate future to look like? I considered this. I want to stay in the house. It's been my home for 30 years. Then, that's what we'll request. What about contact with Richard? Limited, I decided. Through you, or in writing only. After hanging up, I made another call. This one to Emily and Mark. I need to see you both, I said. Today, if possible. They arrived together that afternoon, wary and uncomfortable. What's going on, Mom? Emily asked, settling on the couch. Dad says you've hired a shark lawyer. I've hired legal representation, I corrected, which is appropriate given the circumstances. But divorce? Mark looked pained. After 42 years, I studied my children, both successful in their careers, both completely dependent on me emotionally and often financially. I have questions for you both, I said instead of answering. And I need honest answers. They exchanged nervous glances. When was the last time either of you called me just to check how I was doing? Not to ask for money or help or advice, just to see how I was? Silence. I can't remember either, I continued. What would you do if I weren't here to bail you out? To listen to your problems? To be your safety net? Emily shifted uncomfortably. Mom, that's not fair. Isn't it? Last month you needed $3,000 for unexpected bills. The month before that, it was $2,000 for car repairs. Where does that money come from, Emily? From you and Dad, she answered, flushing. No, from me. From my nursing pension. Your father doesn't even know about most of it, because he's never bothered to ask where the money goes. I was going to pay you back, she insisted. When? After the next emergency? The next crisis that only Mom can solve? Mark cleared his throat. Mom, and you. I turned to him. 3 missed rent payments this year. Who covered those? Who called your landlord and smoothed things over? I didn't ask you to do that, he defended weakly. No, you just mentioned eviction notices casually enough that I would offer to help. Because that's what I do. I help, I fix, I solve, and nobody ever sees me doing it. Tears filled Emily's eyes. We see you. Do you? What color are my eyes? Emily? She blinked in confusion. What? My eyes? What color are they? They're blue, she guessed. They're hazel, I corrected softly. They've always been hazel. Mark looked stricken. Mom, we don't mean to take you for granted. I know, I said, my voice gentler now. But you do. You all do. And I've let you. Because that's what I thought love was. Giving. Until there's nothing left. What do you want from us? Emily asked, wiping her eyes. I want you to see me, I said simply. Really see me. Not as your mother who will always be there to catch you, but as Linda, a woman with her own needs and dreams and limits. They were quiet, absorbing my words. And I want you to understand that whatever happens between your father and me, it's not your battle. It's not about choosing sides. But he cheated on you, Mark pointed out. Yes, I acknowledged. But this isn't just about Jessica. It's about 42 years of invisible inequity, of me shrinking so everyone else could expand. I reached for their hands. I love you both. That will never change. But how we relate to each other has to change. After they left, I felt lighter somehow. Speaking my truth, however uncomfortable, had created space inside me that had long been compressed. The phone rang again. It was Sharon. Linda, what's this I hear about you and Richard splitting up? Is it true? I took a breath. It's complicated, Sharon. But you can't divorce him. He's Richard. You're Linda and Richard. We might still be Linda and Richard, I said. Just not in the same way. This is about that woman, isn't it? Men go through midlife crises. It doesn't mean... Sharon, I interrupted gently. This isn't about Jessica. It's about me finding my voice after decades of silence. What does that even mean? She demanded. It means I'm changing, I said simply. And the people around me will need to adjust. But what about family dinners? Holidays? What about me? Who am I supposed to call when I need help? There it was. The heart of it. Who would serve everyone's needs if not me? You'll figure it out, I told her. We all will. He did what? I gripped the phone tighter as Daniel explained. Richard attempted to withdraw funds from your joint investment account. The hold prevented it, but he's filed an emergency petition with the court. On what grounds? He's claiming financial hardship. Says he needs access to pay his living expenses. I laughed bitterly. After hiding money for years, he suddenly can't pay his bills? It's a common tactic, Daniel explained. But we have documentation of his separate accounts. The judge will see through it. A knock at the door interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Jessica standing on my porch. I need to call you back, I told Daniel. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Can I help you? Jessica looked less polished than at our disastrous dinner. Mrs. Turner, Linda, I need to talk to you. I don't think we have anything to discuss. Please, she insisted. This has gotten out of hand. Richard is... He's not who I thought he was. That makes two of us, I replied coolly. He told me you were separated, she blurted. That you had been for years, just living in the same house for convenience. I almost laughed. We celebrated our anniversary the night you arrived. I know that now. She looked genuinely distressed. He lied to me, too. What do you want, Jessica? I want to apologize, and... She hesitated. I think you should know he's been moving money. Lots of money. That got my attention. Come in. Inside, she perched nervously on the edge of the sofa. He has an account in Toronto, under a different name. How do you know this? I saw the statements. He's not as careful as he thinks. She met my eyes. I'm not the villain here, Linda. I was deceived too. Before I could respond, my phone rang. It was Emily. Mom, Dad's here at my apartment. He's really angry about the accounts being frozen. Is he threatening you? I asked sharply. No, but he wants me to talk to you, to convince you to be reasonable. Put him on. There was a shuffling sound, then Richard's voice. Linda, this has gone far enough. Unfreeze the accounts. No. This is ridiculous. I built those accounts. We built them. I corrected. Together. With my support, my sacrifices, my labor. Your labor? He scoffed. I worked 60-hour weeks while you stayed home. Jessica, hearing his voice, looked increasingly uncomfortable. I raised your children, I replied evenly. I managed your household. I attended your firm dinners. I invested our money wisely. And when the kids were older, I returned to nursing to supplement our income. This is pointless, he snapped. I'll see you in court. The line went dead. I turned to Jessica. I think you should go. What about the account information? Give it to my lawyer. I wrote down Daniel's contact details. And Jessica, no matter what happens between you and Richard, remember this feeling, the feeling of being deceived by someone you trusted. After she left, Gloria called. Emily just called me, she explained. She's worried about you. I'm fine, I assured her. Better than fine, actually. I feel awake. Richard's pulling out all the stops. Sharon called me ranting about family loyalty. I sighed. Sharon never could handle change. Are you ready for this fight, Linda? Richard won't go quietly. I'm discovering, I said slowly, that I'm stronger than anyone realized, especially me. The next morning, Mark appeared at my door. Mom, he began awkwardly. I've been thinking about what you said, about seeing you. Yes? I want to help. Not with money or anything, but maybe I could mow the lawn, or fix that leaky faucet you mentioned last month. I felt a lump in my throat. I'd like that very much. As Mark worked on the faucet, my phone rang again. It was Daniel. Linda, the judge denied Richard's emergency petition. The accounts remain frozen, pending our full hearing. Thank you, Daniel. There's more. Jessica Winters came to my office this morning with documentation of a hidden account in Toronto. I smiled slightly. I thought she might. This strengthens our case considerably. Richard will have to explain these assets. After hanging up, I joined Mark in the kitchen. He wiped his hands on a towel. Fixed, he announced proudly, and I checked the other sinks too. They're all good. Thank you, I said sincerely. Not just for the faucet. He nodded, understanding. Mom, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing, standing up for yourself. Even if it means your parents might divorce. Even then, he confirmed, because I want both my parents to be happy, even if that means being apart. I hugged him, feeling a glimmer of hope for our future relationship, whatever form it might take. I think it's time for a family meeting, I told Daniel over the phone. With everyone present, Richard, the kids, even Sharon. Are you sure? He asked cautiously. That could get volatile. I need to do this my way, I explained, face to face. The meeting was set for Saturday afternoon. Daniel would attend as my support. Richard would bring his lawyer, Harold Winters, ironically, Jessica's father. Emily arrived first, hugging me tightly. Are you sure about this? I'm sure, I confirmed. Mark came next, followed by Sharon, who avoided my eyes. Richard and Harold arrived precisely on time, both in suits, as if for court. Thank you all for coming, I began once everyone was seated. I know this isn't easy. Let's cut to the chase, Harold interrupted. My client is willing to offer a generous settlement if this can be resolved quickly and quietly. With all due respect, Daniel countered, we're not here to negotiate yet. Linda has asked for this meeting to clarify some facts. Richard shifted, impatiently. What facts? That you've frozen our accounts? Blocked access to our properties? Our accounts, I repeated. Our properties. That's precisely what we need to clarify. I distributed folders to everyone. These contain financial statements spanning our 42-year marriage. This is inappropriate, Harold objected. Financial negotiations should be handled through counsel. This isn't a negotiation, I said calmly. It's an education. Page 3 shows my annual nursing salary and how it was invested. Page 5 details my inheritance and its subsequent redistribution. Richard's face darkened. Linda, page 7, I continued, lists the undisclosed accounts in Grand Cayman and Toronto, and page 9 shows the property purchases made without my knowledge using jointly held funds. Emily gasped, flipping through the pages. Dad, is this true? It's more complicated than it appears, Richard insisted. It's actually quite simple, I countered. For decades, I trusted you completely with our finances. I never questioned your decisions because I believed we were partners. But partners don't hide assets. They don't siphon inheritance money. They don't create secret accounts. You never showed interest in the finances, Richard defended. You were happy to let me handle it. Because I trusted you, I repeated. That was my mistake. Sharon looked up from her folder. Richard, how could you do this? This is a witch hunt, Richard snapped. Linda's angry about Jessica, and she's retaliating. Jessica was the symptom, not the disease, I said quietly. She just exposed what was already broken. Your integrity. Mark closed his folder. Dad, these numbers don't lie. You've been hiding money for years. I was protecting our assets, Richard insisted. From whom? I asked. From me? Your wife of 42 years? Harold leaned forward. This confrontation is counterproductive. Let's focus on moving forward. I agree, I said, surprising everyone. Moving forward requires truth, and the truth is that Richard has systematically hidden our marital assets while presenting himself as the sole provider and financial decision-maker. What do you want? Richard asked, his voice tight. I want what's fair, I answered simply. Half of everything we built together. Recognition of my contributions, financial, emotional, and practical. And I want honesty, finally, after all these years. And if I refuse? Daniel opened his own folder. Then we proceed to court with this documentation, plus the additional evidence Jessica provided. Richard blanched. Jessica? She brought me proof of the Toronto account, I confirmed. Apparently, she's not as comfortable with deception as you are. Sharon reached for my hand unexpectedly. Linda, I had no idea. Any of this. None of us did, Emily added. Mom, I'm so sorry. Richard stood abruptly. This meeting is over. Harold, we're leaving. Actually, Harold said, surprising us all, I think we should hear Linda out. He turned to Richard. These financial records are concerning, Richard. Very concerning. Richard glared at his lawyer. What are you saying? I'm saying that if these records are accurate, and they appear to be, you've been concealing marital assets. That's not something the courts look kindly upon. Emily was still studying the documents. Dad, you used Mom's inheritance to buy property in your name only. How could you? It was an investment strategy, Richard defended weakly. For tax purposes. For whose benefit? Mark demanded. Richard had no answer. The room fell silent as the weight of the evidence settled over everyone. Finally, Sharon spoke. Linda, I had no idea. Any of this. All these years. I just assumed. I mean, the way Richard always talked about handling the finances, I thought. We all did, I said gently. That was the narrative he created. The successful provider, the financial genius. I believed it too, for a long time. Richard stood abruptly. This is absurd. I won't sit here and be attacked in my own home. It's our home, I corrected quietly. Purchased with our money, built on our partnership. Or what I thought was a partnership. Harold cleared his throat. Richard, I strongly suggest we adjourn and discuss this privately. Fine, Richard snapped. He pointed at me. This isn't over, Linda. After they left, Emily broke down. Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Dad was doing this. I know, I assured her. Neither did I for a long time. Mark squeezed my hand. What happens now? Daniel gathered his papers. Now we negotiate, from a position of strength. Sharon hadn't moved from her chair, still staring at the documents. I've been so blind, she murmured. All those times I came to you for money, for help. I never once thought about what it cost you. We all played our roles, I told her. I was the giver. You were the taker. Richard was the controller. But roles can change when we become aware of them. Gloria, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. Linda, I am so damn proud of you. For the first time in weeks, I smiled a real smile. I'm proud of me too. Richard demanded a private meeting 3 days later. Daniel advised against it, but I insisted. I need to look him in the eye, I explained, for my own closure. We met at a neutral location, a conference room in Daniel's office building. Richard arrived alone, Harold having apparently resigned from the case. New lawyer? I asked as he sat down across from me. I'm representing myself for now, he said stiffly. I nodded. That seems appropriate. You've always believed you know best. Linda, he began, his voice softer than I expected. This has gotten out of hand. We should be able to work this out between us. 42 years counts for something. Yes, I agreed. It counts for 42 years of me believing we were equals when we weren't. He leaned forward. I made financial decisions that benefited us both. Decisions you hid from me. Money you concealed. That's not partnership, Richard. That's control. What do you want? He asked bluntly. Half? Fine, take half. But don't destroy what we built. I studied his face. The face I'd woken up to for over 4 decades. The lines around his eyes I knew by heart. The silver at his temples I'd watched appear year by year. What we built, I repeated softly. That's just it, Richard. I don't think we built the same thing. I built a marriage. You built a facade. That's not fair, isn't it? When did you start seeing Jessica? He looked away. It's not what you think. When? A year ago, he admitted. But it wasn't serious until recently. A year of lies, I noted. On top of how many years of financial deception? He had no answer. What I want, I continued, is dignity, respect, recognition for my contributions, financial and otherwise. I want the truth acknowledged, not buried under more lies. And our family? What about Emily and Mark? What about holidays and birthdays and... Our family will adjust, I interrupted. They're adults, and they deserve to see what a healthy relationship looks like, even if that means seeing their parents apart. Richard ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my heart ache despite everything. I never meant to hurt you, he said finally. I believe that. I replied. But you did hurt me, and now we both have to live with the consequences. As I stood to leave, he caught my hand. Linda, please. Can't we try to fix this? I gently removed my hand from his. Some things once broken can't be put back together the same way, and maybe they shouldn't be. Outside, Daniel was waiting. How did it go? It went, I said simply. And now we move forward. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal meetings, financial disclosures, and uncomfortable family dynamics. Richard moved out permanently, taking an apartment downtown. The divorce proceedings began, methodical and predictable thanks to Daniel's thorough preparation. Emily showed up at my door one evening, tears streaming down her face. Mom, I don't know what to do, she confessed. Dad wants me to talk you out of the divorce. He says you're being unreasonable. I invited her in, made tea, and sat with her at the kitchen table, the scene of so many family dramas over the years. What do you think? I asked her. She looked surprised. What? What do you think? I repeated. Not what your father thinks, or what you think I want to hear. What do you think, Emily? She stared into her tea for a long moment. I think I've never seen you stand up for yourself like this before. And it scares me. Why does it scare you? Because, she hesitated, if you change, then everything changes. And I don't know where that leaves me. The honesty of her answer moved me. It leaves you exactly where you've always been, as my daughter. The difference is now you're getting to know me as Linda, too, not just Mom. I think I'd like that, she said tentatively, getting to know Linda. Mark was different. He, showed up with tools, fixing things around the house I hadn't even realized needed fixing. You don't have to do this, I told him after he spent a Saturday repairing gutters. I know, he said simply. I want to. Sharon kept her distance initially, embarrassed by her years of taking advantage. When she finally called, her voice was small. I don't know how to be your sister, she admitted. I only know how to be your burden. Then let's learn together, I suggested. Start by asking me about my day. Not because you need something, but because you're interested. How was your day, Linda? She asked, the question foreign on her tongue. It was good, I replied. I planted tomatoes in the garden. I'm thinking of taking a painting class. Painting? You never mentioned being interested in art. There's a lot I haven't mentioned, I told her. But I'm starting to now. Gloria became even more present in my life, introducing me to her friends, taking me to concerts and art exhibitions I'd always been too busy to attend. You're blooming, she observed one afternoon, as we walked through a park. It's beautiful to watch. I feel like I'm waking up, I confessed, like I've been sleepwalking for decades. The legal proceedings continued. Richard fought some points, conceded others. The hidden assets were divided. The house remained mine, my sanctuary, now truly mine. Jessica disappeared from the picture, as quickly as she had appeared. I found I didn't care where she went or why. She had been a catalyst, nothing more. Evenings were the strangest, the quiet both liberating and disorienting. No one to cook for, no one's schedule to accommodate, just me and my thoughts, and gradually, my rediscovered interests. I took the painting class. I joined a book club. I started walking every morning, watching the seasons change with newfound attention. One night, Richard called. I signed the final papers today, he said, his voice tired. I know. Daniel told me. So that's it then. 42 years, finished with a signature. The marriage is finished, I corrected. But we're still Emily and Mark's parents. We still share a history. Do you think, he hesitated, that someday we might be friends? I considered this. I don't know, Richard. That depends on whether you ever truly see me. Not as your wife or your housekeeper or your social secretary, but as a person in my own right. I'd like to try, he said quietly. That's a start, I acknowledged. 1 year after that fateful anniversary dinner, I hosted a different kind of gathering. Not a celebration of marriage, but a celebration of self-discovery. Emily helped set the table, chatting about her new job, one she had found without asking, me for connections or money. Mark arrived with fresh flowers from the market and a genuine smile. Sharon brought dessert, store-bought but chosen with care. Gloria came early to help, though I didn't need it anymore. Richard was not invited. Some boundaries remained necessary. "A toast," Gloria proposed once we were all seated. "To Linda, not just mom or sister or friend, but a woman of strength and dignity." "To Linda," they echoed, raising their glasses. Later, as Emily helped with dishes, something she'd never volunteered to do before, she asked, "Are you happy, Mom? Really happy?" I considered the question carefully. "I'm at peace," I answered, "and I'm getting to know myself after decades of knowing only what others needed from me. That's its own kind of happiness." "And Dad," she ventured, "do you ever regret?" "I don't regret the 42 years that gave me you and Mark," I said honestly. "I don't regret the good times, and there were many. I only regret that I disappeared inside my own life for so long." After everyone left, I stood in my kitchen, and felt the quiet settle around me. Not the heavy silence of loneliness, but the peaceful quiet of self-possession. On the refrigerator, held by a magnet, was my first completed painting from class. Not particularly good, but entirely mine. Beside it, a photograph of my parents on their wedding day. My mother young and hopeful, much as I had once been. "I found my way, Mom," I whispered to her image. "It took me 62 years, but I found my way." I made myself a cup of tea and carried it out to the garden, where my tomato plants were flourishing. The evening air was sweet with possibility. I thought about the woman I had been a year ago, invisible even to herself. And I thought about the woman I was becoming, visible, clear-eyed, present. A text message lit up my phone. It was Mark. "Thanks for dinner, Mom. Love you." A simple message, but different now. Not a prelude to a request, not a perfunctory obligation. Just a son reaching out to his mother, a woman he was finally beginning to see. I texted back, "Love you too. The garden gate needs fixing when you have time, but only if you want to." His response came quickly. "I want to. Sunday afternoon?" I smiled. Sunday is perfect. Perfect not because my life was without complications or my family without flaws, but because finally, I existed in my own story, not as a supporting character, but as the protagonist of my own life. I had reclaimed my dignity, and in doing so, I had shown my family what respect looked like, what love looked like, when it wasn't buried under obligation and invisibility. The sun set slowly over my garden, my life, hard-won and wholly mine, and for the first time in 42 years, that was enough.